There we go. I'm hearing sound now.
Trying to hold back a soul.
There we go. I'm hearing sound now.
And it's you. I got you. Come on. Oh. I got you. Let's get going. Come on. Oh. I got you.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Whiskey Gaming Show. We're a little early today because we had more to talk about. And of course, it looks like the XSplit challenges with sound have not ended yet. So apologize for that. We'll try and get that fixed on the next show. I'll actually maybe do a dry run once or something. We'll see. But welcome, Dragonezer. How are you doing, buddy? It's nice to see you here. Yeah, you can see us. That's good. And can you hear me for once? That my sound is actually working. So the funny thing is, XSplit has this thing where you can send sound only to the stream and not hear it as we're talking and doing prep. And you're able to mute us, but we're muted, but we can hear each other, and you can't hear us, and all you hear is the intro. And that doesn't seem to be working. Or the new version of XSplit has reset how they have to have that set up. So we do apologize. We'll figure that out. But we're here this week so far with McLeod. Nice to have you back from last week, McLeod.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, looking
Nice to be back.
Yeah, and RW down there in the southerly clime. And Caleb. What's the temperature like where you are, Caleb?
It's actually getting quite warm. We have just finished a little bit of a heat wave. I know that the British have had the blunt force of it, but we got the remnants. So it's about 24, 25 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty nice.
What's that in English?
That's not a heat wave. When you're in the 30s, that's a heat wave.
Yeah, you got the 30s. We got the human temperature from that.
The human temperature. No. I think it's like, I don't know, 85 here or something like that, 82, I don't know. Hey, Doomstuff5, thank you for the follow, we appreciate it. I'm here in my disembodied shirt. You can see the wrinkles a little bit. It was I have my blue background, and I'm too lazy to flip it around to the green background today, so I'm a little bit disembodied. 103 in Texas, holy hell. Yeah, I think it was. It was like 119 or 120 or something in Arizona, and it was 110, I think, over there in LA. So it's been warm in the U.S., but they never talk about when the temperatures are cooler than normal, so that's always interesting.
See, it's funny. Y'all up there in the U.S. get these temperatures in the hundreds and everything, and even though I don't miss it, down here where I am, I'm closer to the equator, and it's only 91 here.
Wow. So is it a wet heat or a dry heat?
There's a little bit of humidity, but I mean, we've got the Atlantic on one side, of us the Pacific right on, right out here off the coast. So I don't feel much of the humidity at all. If you go in towards the jungle, towards the interior, then yeah, you're going to get the humidity in there. But out here along the coast, you don't feel it.
Wow. So as we're sitting here, we've struggled with the drink of the week. So we all just talk about what we're drinking. Now, if Billy ever shows up, we know he'll be drinking like 16 Miller Lights. I mean, that's just what he does during the show.
It's Miller time.
But I'm sitting here with the last of my Woodford Reserve bourbon. It's called Forwood. It's from a couple years ago. And so this is the last of it. Well, there's a little bit more, but it's just got, and it's 4 wood because it's actually put through 4 different wood casks. So the maple gives it a really interesting flavor. So there. What do you, in McLeod, you forgot drinking water?
I'm not. Yeah, it's quite warm, so I'm annoyingly, like, I don't have that. Well, I didn't expect it, so we didn't have that much ice. So like, I'm just drinking water to basically keep hydrated.
Keep hydrated. I have this will be scary to the U.S. folks. I'm drinking water out of my Great Lakes mug or glass, from Cleveland, Ohio, Great Lakes Brewing. And everybody knows, don't drink any of the water out of the Great Lakes. So,
Ooh.
RW knows, like, don't do it. Don't do it, Eric.
I've lived in Chicago.
Yes. You know, McLeod's a bit louder than everyone else. Everybody's coming through Discord.
I'm louder. That's strange.
How's that? That better?
You're a little louder, RW. Nice badges, by the way. Accessible gamer. Ohio smells funny. yeah, we know. AB, AG. That's great. So, Caleb, are you drinking anything interesting? Coffee.
Nah, I don't. I'm not very good at this casual, just sipping and then I'm getting mellow drunk. Alcohol and me are very digital, so it's either or. I don't feel like getting drunk today.
You're a Jaeger bombs and random shots across the bar kind of person, or nothing.
I can drink beer casually and to some extent gin tonics, but if I start doing anything that remotely resembles drinks, I want to drink more until I get really drunk.
Shots. No, Dragons, there will be. This isn't open comms. We don't do shots here. At least throw some freaking Baileys or something into that coffee, for crying out loud. Jesus.
Right. So that's
I don't mix stuff into my coffee. That's horrible. I have my coffee on the side and then everything else with it.
Hey, Oxygen, how you doing, bro?
Hi guys.
Oxygen around. Yay! Hey, man.
We love drive-bys.
What's happening, guys? Just got home from work, actually.
Hey, we're going to talk about the mirror in a little bit here.
Sweet.
Coffee's always good, but I don't like black coffee. My wife and her entire family, that's all they'll drink black coffee. I have to put cream in mine. Or Bailey's.
Oh, that's strange because there's times where I'm like, I like a sort of a fairly milky-ish coffee, but then there's times when I'm just like, nah, I want black coffee straight.
RW, what are you drinking?
Weird.
Zach, I just came off my vacation from Dominican Republic, as you know, and they gave us these neat little bottles in our hotel room, and it was funny because I'd make the bottle disappear, and the next morning another one would magically reappear. I don't know why, but I managed to smuggle one back across with me. So I'm drinking some of this today.
You want to be able to sort of get one of those fridges that just.
I have no idea what this stuff is. It's from France. That's all I know. It's vodka, and that's the main thing right there. Is it says vodka on it. That's all that matters.
So that's a pretty big bottle. What is it? Is it like a flask bottle?
No, it's just a pint.
Oh, a pint bottle. They would give you a new pint of vodka every day.
Every day.
I love.
And not just vodka, also a bottle of champagne, a pint of whiskey, another bottle of wine, and a bottle of Irish cream of sorts. I don't know what the name of it was. It wasn't Bailey's.
So if you didn't drink it, were you hiding it under the bed sheets or something so that they'd give you another one anyway? That's what I would do.
See, the concerning thing about me is, considering how Eve players min-max stuff, you must have been really drunk for quite some time to, be making sure that you're getting your maximum worth out of that fridge.
Never not hide booze for more booze.
That's right. Hide booze, get more booze. Oxygen, are you drinking anything, or did you just, you're home from work, you got to mellow out a little before you start drinking? What's up?
I am drinking iced tea right now, and it's delicious.
Is that sweet tea
I'm
or
a fan of
regular
iced tea.
It is actually like an Arizona green tea, but I prefer unsweet tea.
I prefer mine with a little bit of lemonade in it.
Oh yeah,
more of a Lipton's iced tea kind of man than an actual
throw some vodka in it. You got that daily guy hovering around.
There we go. You throw some vodka in there. We got a party going on.
No shit on the min-max. So hey, we are going to talk a little bit here about the mirror to start with, and I kept looking at these reports, and they kept getting more and more interesting. And for those who don't know, that is the monthly economic report from Eve. Are you down with that, Oxygen, or do you want to talk about something else?
No, that sounds awesome. I'm with you guys.
So I've got both of them up here.
Hey,
Yes.
Geo Cup, Asiliungi, Protoss 1, and there was one other one in there. I missed the name of it, but thank you all for the follow. Oh, Money 519.
Oh yeah,
4 big
there's
follows
a
right
million follows that are coming in now.
Oh yeah, cheers, guys, for the follows.
So I've decided I'm just going to stop every once in a while and say, hey, all you guys that just followed, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Drink for the day from Trust Me, I'm a Viking. 12-year-old Charles Regal. Oh, that'd be good.
Oof.
Charles Regal. That'd be yummy. I think I've got like 2-year-old bourbon or something. I don't know. No, it's more than that. But yes, so I'm drinking the bourbon. So I'm pre-gaming. We're all pre-gaming here in the U.S. for Saturday night, right?
Gonna get fancy and break out the Kentucky Deluxe.
Ooh, there you go.
What's as a non-American, like what's the specific issue or the specific event on tonight?
Saturday.
Oh, just Saturday. Okay, fair enough.
So when you're in college,
I thought
you're in the US.
you sound like you were like it sounded like you were like there was some kind of Super Bowl or like something with like that, like big event sort of thing. So
Yeah, no.
I just thought like
No.
Nope, just a Saturday.
So I don't know
Fair
about
enough.
how it is in the UK, right? So as far as I know,
Oh, people get wasted on the weekends, yeah.
so like nobody goes to class on Friday when you're in university, right? So the party night's Thursday night, right? And
okay.
so in college, everybody's drinking on Thursday night, but you actually have to work in the real world. So you might have a few beverages Friday after work with your bros that you work with, and Saturday, I don't know, drink more. Sunday recover.
I totally get that.
Unless you're Caleb, we're just drinking some coffee, hanging out.
Just hanging out, drinking. Yep.
Oh, Billy's here! Yo!
Billy's here.
Somebody drag him down. Up, because I just hovered over Skype and put the little icons across the cloud.
Always messing with me, man. Always
You're
with
the problem child, I swear to God. So let's get rolling here.
Why do you keep doxing me, Eric?
I didn't mean to. It was the hover. Sorry. Just call me CNN.
It's not sorry.
Just call me CNN for the rest of the show.
Fucking fake news. God damn it.
It's a funny thing, right? You kind of go after people who make memes and things on the internet, and they just make more. I mean, really? Did you think that was going to work?
To be fair, it wasn't going to work. They were playing an angle that they were just going to lose regardless of what they were going to do. So, it's being run by a bunch of fucking monkeys right now. CNN.
Pretty much. So hey, let's go over to the mirror. I'm going to switch our screens here.
Transition.
There we go. Oh, it's the presentation screen. I'm getting fancy.
Yay.
All right. So when we look at this is actually June's opening page, right? The production versus destruction page, right? And we can see the typical summer slowdown in production, but it's pretty steep this year. It's probably 3 to 4 times by the time this gets to be August what it's been before. So that's a little interesting to me. When you look at, and we didn't used to have troughs really, and I love having my icon here on it, right? We didn't used to have troughs, so we had this big steep incline right here. Actually, it was pretty amazingly even for a lot of Eve. 2015, 2014.
I have to wonder what specific event that trough was.
There's nothing mentioned here, but of course we're looking April, May of 2016, right?
June 2016.
Isn't that just after Citadel?
Citadels, I think, came after.
Was that when the North got invaded and all of the nerds were trying super hard to keep putting chips in the grinder?
That could be it.
Maybe.
But yeah, so we had our first trough, but then you see this is the build up to Citadels up through here. I actually think Citadels are right in here somewhere. But you see we had a little bump here. Like this right here, the orange line here is the mining, right? And that is that's Mount Mined. He has the orange line. You'll see I think we're pretty steady on the mining even after the big Rorqual bump. I think you saw a lot of production because there were so many free minerals coming in and everything was getting cheap, so we upped production.
Well, I mean, you know, you had the Rorqual like buffs, and everyone was getting Rorqual, so like there were minerals sloshing about that needed to be used, so people were just building whatever. And obviously, you had the Imperium kind of Goonswarm. Every system will have a Fortizar thing. So
Yeah, actually, my mic balance is as high as it can be. Let me see if I can force this down without doing it. How's that, guys? Is that a little better? I'll talk a little louder as well on my mic. But yeah, my mic balance is as high as it can be without me stepping away and moving it. On Discord, are you hearing me okay?
yeah,
Yeah,
fine.
perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was. You know, I'll turn it up just a little. But yeah, let me see.
But then again, like Discord has its own like automatic gate control and all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, in May of 2016, there are tons of PL and Goon and Waffles and all the other homos. Yeah, that's when the North was being invaded. That big spike.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does. But yeah, and then when we moved into Delve here at the end of last year, right? Or no, April, May. When did we move into Delve? 2016? No.
I went AFK when we moved, so I don't know.
No. I think
I can't remember. It's not that important to me. But hey, that's just this one. I mean, it's not the most important one, and I'm actually gonna. I'm gonna shuffle forward here a couple here to the regional data, and I'm gonna go through a couple of these because this one in particular right here. So this is the ISK sinks versus faucets page in the report, and this is super interesting to me. And we were talking about this earlier, McLeod, and I'm interested in everybody here and what their thoughts are on some of this stuff. I don't like when they mix a faucet and a sink, right? I'd like them to separate that and tell us what they really are. I mean, in the case of insurance, you know what it is, right? People buying insurance, the policy versus the payout, right? But I don't like things that, and in the end, they counter each other. But I just don't like the representation. I just don't like. And the other thing I don't like is commodity. What is commodity?
That's blue loot and stuff like that. That's NPC seeded ISK from the market.
But blue loot's not ISK.
Yes, it is. You sell it to the NPC and get ISK, so that's a commodity.
In that kind of sense, it's commodity.
Yeah, you're right.
In
You're
that
right.
kind of
You're
sense,
right.
Yeah.
I thought
I think the interesting
like
part in this one to me was that everyone was talking about bounties, but bounties didn't really change at all.
The thing is, the traditional kind of definition of a commodity is basically a raw material. So, like, I was wondering whether that translated to be basically, essentially raw materials that going into the market.
Yeah. So
obviously not.
Don't you use blue loot in T2 production too?
No,
I don't think
it's
so.
not used for anything. It's only
It's
to
a direct
convert
turn-in?
to ISK. Yes, and
Okay,
that's
okay.
also why
Yeah.
I'm so
Okay.
against it existing, because it's just an ISK faucet that you can suck forever.
So all that stuff we were doing in wormhole space and all the blue loot we get from that. But what is the sink side of that?
Well, there's no sink to that. Well, there's of
There
course
is,
the
according to
broker
that.
fees, but there's no sink. Oh, that's bought commodities. Bought commodities are some of the things that, like in Tech 2 Productions, you need electronics and one or two other ones that's only seeded by NPCs.
That's NPC seeded stuff. So basically, people buy those off the market from NPC. So that's
I don't like the mixture like that. But that's good on that commodity. So McLeod and I were talking about that, Caleb, earlier, and we're like, well, what is that? I hope that isn't a bunch of other things that we're thinking they are, and it isn't.
This is the obvious advantage of having someone who is actually a pretty decent marketeer.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Caleb.
Yes,
You're
Caleb.
very welcome.
So yeah. Now, one of the more interesting numbers here, right, is right here in the middle, right? So you have the beginning of the month, you have the end of the month, and you have, obviously, this is the total ISK in what they consider total ISK in the market.
It's change, right?
Right. So when you look at this, right, so we have faucets in this month of 100 trillion, right? We've got a sink of 60 trillion, right? That's not that bad out of balance.
No, it's pretty much the same as always. There's what is it, 8% difference from last month? I had it at 0.56 and 0.60 in the ratio of faucet to sink.
Yeah, there's not much.
So they're pretty much the same. There's no change at all. The important numbers that I noticed was that the incursion payouts have tanked a lot, like 30%.
Yeah, we'll go look at that in a little bit. And then there's this active ISK delta, which is probably to me the most interesting number in this whole thing. And we can see that's much higher than normal, right? Because that includes things, and it's a little note down here that nobody can read. It includes...
It's a very bad name. It's a really bad name, and I think that Quant really needs to change that because it's confusing. People think that it's some sort of delta, like an actual growth number, but it's basically CCP activity and lapsing accounts, right? So accounts that are older than 30 days, and then it's banned accounts and things like that, and destroyed.
Right. It's ISK taken out of the game by GM, so I'm sure we're seeing some of the ship mishandling here, and we're seeing some of the ghost trading here. And normally this number, I think, is somewhere between 11 and 16 trillion normally. So,
and I think the important thing is to link that to the article that was out on INN, that it looks as if CCP are slightly changing procedures when it comes to confiscation of ISK, or at least in this case with the ghost training, that they are allowing people to actually assemble the value either in raw materials or in ISK, and then hand it over and then keep their main characters and all the zombie farms. That's very interesting because that's usually not what they do. Usually they just negative the balance, and then that means that they're not getting as much assets out of the game as you will with this new procedure.
I was watching Open Comms actually last night when they were talking a little bit about this, which is kind of funny. And I was wondering whether CCP, like with this sort of thing, was going to actually like bill people the actual, the actual price. Like, you can either pay by
bill.
Yeah, like a three-pronged way of making it up. Either you can pay the ISK, the in-game currency ISK payment for the the amount of time to make those skills. You can pay the injector amount to inject that amount of skills, or you could buy it literally and have like CCP actually bill you the monthly kind of a mega plan for it.
I think an important number that I was crunching with Reaver when we were looking at these numbers for the article is that at least over the last 6 to 8 months, it's been pretty much a steady average of 30 to 35 trillion ISK out each month on active ISK delta.
I thought you told me it was 12.
No. It's I'm pretty sure it's between 30 and 35 trillion each month on average. So when you average out the entire decline on all the months, it evens out at about 30.
That's never a good thing, because coupled in that is people essentially leaving the game, right? And
Yeah.
so
And
think
the
about
question
that.
is how big is that fraction of that number? In my personal opinion, I think it's in the realm of like maybe a quarter of that could be lapsing accounts.
I think that might be a little low, but yeah, I mean, we don't know.
Well, we know that when we have the bans and stuff like that, that's considerable numbers. That's big numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I think I would be surprised if it's more than that. That's lapsing accounts, and then it's also the fact that many rich people that have multiple accounts, they tend to have a lot of slush money lying around that then goes lapse, but will be activated again later, right? I don't know exactly how people like Kenneth Bell and Aeriths operate, but I could imagine that they have more accounts and then characters holding some of the other assets and kind of sorting the whole thing like that. And if there's a lot of billions in those accounts, that's going to lapse if you don't reactivate or don't log into them. And I think Aeriths said he only uses about 20 hours a year, right, in total. Something like that. That means he's not actually logging into those accounts a lot. That means if he's just logged in and then he logs back out, then it's going to lapse, right? That's a lot of money that's suddenly going to go invisible. It's why
you're making
it's why we were hoping that CCP would consider showing a number that's not considering lapsing accounts. It just shows the total and then the active.
That would be really helpful, actually.
It would be, but if you're logging in 20 hours a month, if you're doing that once a month, right? You don't know what their
he said 20. He's doing. He said he's like on average he only logs in for about 20 hours a year.
Right, but if that so if the equation is if the account hasn't been accessed in 30 or 60 days, let's just say it's 60 days, right? If those 20 hours are so it's 30 days inactivity. That's way too. That's way too low.
He pointed it out. It's way too low. That's why I think if he wants to use that number, which is perfectly valid, he needs to give us the total without any lapsing at all.
Well, you need both.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer. Because then the problem is that you could argue that the 30-day thing then becomes some sort of perfect information that Aeriths will then have an issue with, because then you can basically see when some people log back in to do things like speculation and to actually activate their
this way.
Wealth, right?
If the number if the number were going positive, right, it would show that people are coming back to the game, period. 30 days, I'm pretty sure most people are every 30 days that are truly active, right? But even if you take it to 60 days, I could buy it. The challenge you have is it clearly shows ISK is leaving the game due to inactivity. Because over time, it's never positive. Never. And it would be interesting to see that broken out. That's why that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a sad thing, right?
Yeah. And you still pulled 63.5 trillion in bounties, okay? And you still dropped your money in the game significantly in the last month. And if you're telling me it's what did you say the average activist delta was, Caleb?
The average is around 30 trillion per month over the last 6-8 months. Right?
So I'm going to pull up May, and I'm going to fast forward to that frame.
I think last month it was actually positive, right? And not negative. Was that the month before?
Did I miss it? Hold on. I'm making everybody sick probably flipping through these so fast. So sorry, guys. There it is. I missed it. So I flipped through these, right? So you look, it was positive. You're right. You had a 15.
It was plus
15,
right? Yeah.
So there it is, right there. Positive 15 trillion. And the ISK delta, which said ISK was coming in, and the sinks were only 63, right? So that's
which is also why that's 45 trillion difference from the monthly norm average, right? Mm-hmm. That means that month it looked like the faucets were bonkers, right?
Right. It did.
So if you look at the bounties and compare it to the following month, those two numbers are pretty much the same. It's 60 and 63. That's not a huge difference. So the reason that the Faucet looked like it was crazy last month, that was what CCP was reacting to, was basically just the ISK delta. That's not even remotely relevant to the game balance, except of course that the people that have been leaving now are the people that are leaving because of issues with game balance, right?
True. And I think CCP clearly reacted to that by saying we're creating a team dedicated to balance. So it's not somebody's part-time job. And when it's somebody's part-time job, it only gets halfway done, right? I mean,
we're going to get the answers to that tomorrow, right? We don't know if there's going to be an actual proper macroeconomics balanced team, because I'm not so sure that they have the manpower for that. But we know that they're going to get the ship balanced team. And I'm pretty sure that even though everyone is screaming that it's horrible, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Faucet that's going to lead that team, and that makes perfect sense to me because that's really his specialty, right?
I would like him concentrating on ship balance rather than the rest of the game's balance, because I don't think...
Yeah, exactly. Leave everything else alone. Don't touch mineral compositions and stuff like that. Leave that to someone that has a little bit of a more skill set for that stuff.
So I brought this one up, right? Here's where all the bounties are coming from, right? 92.8%, 93% of them are coming from nullsec. and think about it, right? So a couple years ago, CCP said, we don't understand why everybody doesn't go to nullsec, right? We want everybody to go to nullsec.
And then everyone goes to nullsec.
Right? And now they're freaking out. Now, let's think about it too, right? Everybody is skilling in to be able to make more ISK too, right? The longer it goes.
Yeah.
Right? And people understand how to quickly get there, right? So the more people you stick in this region, the more stuff you're going to get. But it is interesting. Now, I looked at these two numbers between March and now the changes to carriers went in the middle of the March, right? And what we saw, I think, in terms of bounties is you had a 9% reduction in terms of bounties. So about an 18% over a month if all things remain equal, right? Which is about a 20% reduction. If they reduced bounties by 20%, that's not enough to balance it. I don't know where they go from here. Right.
I think an important thing to point out here to the people that might not have actually read your article or listened to the shows before is the whole per capita topic, because every time this is brought up, everyone keeps pointing at Delve. I do not see Delve being a bounty Faucet issue, at least not compared to the rest of the game.
Well, yeah, when we looked up in the old deck area, right? I think that actually in June they went higher when I did the calculation. You had what, 30 to 40% higher per capita numbers in Declan. It was almost
compared to Dell, right?
It was almost double. So it was like 469 million per capita versus 269 million per capita in Delve.
Yeah, and that's really the numbers that I believe that CCP needs to look at instead of trying to panic nerf hammer Delve, because the problems in Delve is really about the fact that it's a goon hole, right? It's very, very small and it's filled with way too many bees. So it's a goon hole, and that's the issue that they should figure out.
We wanted more people living in less space. Come on.
Yeah, but I just don't see that as a good solution to the game balance. I like the fact that it's possible, but it's just not funny.
The thing is, CCP incentivized more people living in smaller space by, creating the, the new mechanic the way that they did. So
and it worked.
It's not like it was too well
because
it's not like you can
hole.
Yeah, it's not like you can complain. It's not like you can complain to, it's not like CCP can complain about goons doing it wrong when in actual fact we're doing exactly what they wanted us to do in the first place.
It's just funny because it's so counter to when the map was entirely yellow, and then the changes came, and then the rumble storm, and then fine, then we're going to go and live in a hole and just suck one big tit.
We have more than one.
That's just so fucking funny.
We can to be fair, Imperium contracted the size of the footprint of their their holdings like 3 or 4 times before moving to Delve. So
And by the way, we're going to spend about another 9 minutes on this, and then Billy, we're going to be talking about your funness with VR.
Nice.
So yeah, Billy doesn't like all this Eve stuff. He's just dipping his big toe in Eve with Valkyrie. So
I have no idea what's going on.
We're gonna suck him in. So yeah, Billy. So Eve, right, has an actual economy rather than most games, right? You go out there and you kill a bunch of things and you get a bunch of gold, or you kill a bunch of things, you get a bunch of swords, and then you sell them on the market, right? In Eve, the market is primarily driven by what players go and do. Right? If nobody makes Cerberuses, how many Cerberuses are there on the market?
There ain't so.
Yeah.
If no one's making Cerberuses, then Cerberuses die, and then there's no Cerberuses for anybody to buy.
This to me is an interesting thing, and this has had to shift the ISK sync market a great deal, right? Remember when the only places we had to go and getting clones and things were a limited number of stations, right, that were owned by different alliances, and then everything else was pretty much NPC, right? So if you went into NPC null, right, that station was an NPC null station. It was an ISK sync. Anything done in that station, right? But now you can go out there and you can drop some citadels, drop some Astra houses, whatever you want to do, right? You know, ECs, engineering
basically undercut all of the NPC kind of services.
Yeah. And then
your own stuff.
That ISK doesn't flow out of the game anymore. Now the ISK stays in the game.
To some
True.
extent. I think
there's a little bit.
The other two, right? The industry jobs and the broker fees. The fact that the industry jobs are that much bigger now than the NPC ones.
Yeah, they may have kind of counted some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
and hopefully we can get the broker fees to do the same, except that would require killing the hubs.
But when you look at office rental fees, jump clone installation.
Oh man. Actually, that was a fairly biggest thing to be fair. Like, you know, office fees, especially in very, very contested NPC null.
Right.
Have so much. The office fees per month were actually quite astronomical.
Right, and the broker fee shifts. I mean, not all of these are clean in the comment that I made, right? But you can see that there's ISK staying in the game that used to leave, right?
Mm-hmm. And ideally, that's what you would want. If you want to start balancing the faucets and things on ISK, then you want to make sure that the design has been created so that it actually cycles around in the player-to-player system, right?
Yeah. And I don't have every single one of... I mean, when you use their HTML page and what I'm using to do this, right? You don't have every one of the templates that they drop out there. But we have a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
This one talks about what you talked earlier, right? The rapid drop in incursion activity, right? I mean, you can see that right here on this red line. I mean, this incursion takes a very steep decline in the last, it started halfway through May.
Yeah, it's been dropping steadily, but
I mean,
from last month to this month is the biggest decline. I don't know if you can actually see that on this. I don't see that on that graph for some reason.
Well, you can see it go down. Now, you see some valleys here that have been previous in July, right? When we go over.
Yeah, I just don't see the 28, almost 30% drop from last month to now. I don't see that on the graph. It doesn't really show.
Yeah, well, he's got that daily roll up coming out of this. But if you look at the peak here, I mean, you're almost at 0.4 trillion. And here you're almost down to 0.2 trillion.
Oh yeah. It started actually very early last month. So yeah, that makes sense. That must have been the quitting, right? So that's all the people that are kind of leaving. At least that's what my guess is, that incursions indicate that there are players that are actually leaving the game. Whether it's summer slump or rage quit or rage break, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Actually, is as much as this is, sort of like this, the screaming question to me is, why all of a sudden has this happened? you know, there must be some particular reason for, especially the incursion kind of runners to be
active,
basically leaving in droves.
I think it's because it's some of the things that are most tied directly to the player numbers online per day. It's things like faction warfare and incursions, and well, even exploration, and to some extent, I would expect something like the blue loop numbers, because it's very active sourcing of ISK, right? And it's something that's very low barrier of entry, so it's very wide to many people. Whereas things like the high-end bounty stuff is very much high-end players, and they don't tend to be as well, if they go on a break in droves. But I don't think they've done that because they're not as I don't know, rage inclined as the middle class.
Here's an interesting one here, right? The bounties. I didn't think the numbers bore out this drastic of a change in bounties when I looked at the numbers on the other graph, right? It wasn't that much of a change. I don't know, but you can clearly see as soon as they drop that carrier change, people just stopped doing bounties, right? So it'll be be interesting to see how this goes next month.
You have to kind of wonder how much of that is a protest vote, like a protest change, though.
That's what I said. Yeah, next month is going to really bear it out. I think it's a tremendous amount of protest in there. I think people are very upset. It was a knee-jerk reaction. It was potentially wrong, right? I mean, I got people still telling me, hey, you know, ratting in supers is the way to go. Screw carriers, right? Regular carriers. Supers are the way to rat.
Well,
so all you're going to do is everybody's going to shift into supers, and it's going to change over time and be right back where it was.
Right. It's just the problem with this from CCP side is that they tend to have not considered the order of which they were going to roll out these nerfs, because doing it like this is something that angers people. If they had done it in a slightly different order, and maybe, as I think I've mentioned once or twice, doing it in a way that's a little bit more subtle. So instead of changing something like the anomaly timers, you change the composition. Again, I know that might require more coding, but that's the type of coding that they need to get done and start looking at. We cannot have a game like this that's 15 years old and does not have dynamic responsive finite state variables. It makes no sense.
Well, we know as you go to the left of this line, okay, where the value in the amount ratted is much lower, right? As you go to the left, and I don't know how far we can actually go with some of these numbers, but I'd like to know what the ratting numbers were when we had 500,000 people playing the game, right? Because we know the number's lower than 300,000 now, and this just keeps getting up higher and higher and higher, right?
And this is almost like quantitative easing. They just keep spewing ISK on everyone.
Well, the other thing is,
it's not healthy. It just destroys the economy. It's why you see the Plex prices going crazy, because no one has anywhere to put it except in Plex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to wonder whether like, you know, is this normalized for the current level of inflation as well? Like, because, you know, I mean,
they don't give us those
as much as we'd like to. Yeah, and that's another one of the problems. Like, you know, if we were given the amount of money that 500,000 people were making, 2-3 years ago, like that, we couldn't compare that to now without being able to like basically normalize it for inflation, because I can tell you right now, 5 years ago, Plex wasn't the price that it is now. And so the value of ISK is not the same.
When you say inflation, right? If you correct this, then Plex has actually become cheaper, right? If you correct it for that inflation you're mentioning, which is the ISK Faucet. The ISK Faucet has been faster than faster than the rise in price of Plex. So it's actually become cheaper in the average income per player if you level it all out. So Plex now is cheaper proportionally But the problem is that it's the only thing that's sensitive to this inflation. Pretty much everything else, if you even it out, has been stagnant, and that means that its cost has not moved at all. So it's become extremely cheap, right? Like stupid cheap.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at, so that's a challenge with Eve's economy. A very few people can do a couple things. They can manipulate any given market that they want to. Okay? And you don't need a ton of ISK to manipulate a lot of the markets. They're just too thin in the marketplace. The other one, you can outproduce. A few people
and the
can
problem
outproduce
is, yeah, that's the whole thing, right? The problem is that production is too easy, and there's way too much stock of everything. That means that the only way to fix prices is to actually use ISK to fallow a market. You're basically buying it up and holding it as stockpile just to generate a better margin on the items.
Like a market maker in the market, right?
Yeah,
Do we need L1 quotes now in Eve? We need L1 and L2 quotes on the market.
We need many things, but first of all, we need fucking scarcity.
Well, yeah, and that's I mean, and the problem is if you have a shrinking player base, right? And what we don't have here is what are the assets out there?
They're crazy.
Right? That
I
asset
don't
number.
I don't know about
that
assets.
asset number
wants
is
to
gonna
answer that question.
I mean, and let me
Asset
see.
number is going to be huge.
I mean, the asset number is going to make this number look like a pinprick, right?
Because not only will raw ISK kind of look sort of at least at the moment look fairly sizable. Like most people who are fairly decent and good with their money know that you don't just leave ISK laying there doing nothing. You put it into something that's going to be making something. So the value in terms of assets, like sort of universe wide, is going to be massive.
What you're kind of talking about here is if you're comparing something like ISK faucets to ISK sinks, right? That ratio has stayed pretty much the same over at least the last year or maybe even more. But the real problem is the ratio of production to destruction. This is the real issue, right? Because that's way too low. There's not enough destruction at all to compensate for the productivity that we're seeing right now.
Right. And I don't know how to pronounce the name. We'll call you Seven Shed. He's right out there, right? So you've got people starting new characters and skill injectors. Those of us who already had money could very quickly skill inject into more lucrative type of characters in relation to ratting, in relation to production and everything else. We also, any new players, right? And what is it? I want this guy $37,000 or $32,000 in skill injectors, and bingo, you went from 0 to completely skilled in a couple hours.
Yeah, but didn't he also cheat? He used that bug, didn't he?
What
it was
bug?
Before that bug where you don't get the diminishing return, or you didn't get the diminishing return if you were not training and you just kept injecting without having an active skill queue.
I don't know.
I think they fixed that now, but back then when he did it, the bug was still there. So so that means they all counted as 500,000. They didn't stop counting as 500,000.
That would make it way cheaper for him to skill inject to that point. Like that would be insane.
But still, it's for a sum of money you can have a completely skilled character. And people say, "Hey, Eve's not pay to win," but guess what? If you already have a lot of the skills in Eve's, and you just want a bigger pilot, right? Guess what? Or 5 of them, guess what? You can pay to win. And it's
but if you do something like injecting skills that you're not actively using, you're basically injecting to fallow, and that's opportunity cost. You're just wasting ISK.
To some degree, but like
irrelevant to the point I was
if
making,
it's if the length of time it takes to to inject into or the length of time to traditionally train into a particular way OP way of making ISK in the game is long enough, or the process of making the ISK OP enough, then the length of time that it will take between, either injecting or going the traditional route will
Yeah, but when you're
actually
injecting onto one
money
character, right?
easily.
Then it's fallowed. It's not used. If you are not utilizing the skill points that you've injected, they're not used. You could have had a much better benefit if, say, you took 10 characters in parallel, right? So 10 more accounts, and then injected the same SP into, say, industry, and then suddenly now you have an industry chain of 100 slots, right? That's effective scaling, and this is a problem with the scaling, that all the scaling is designed for us to make more accounts, multi-box, multi-account, and all that stuff. It's all the strain is on the character sheet, and I think that's because historically that is the business model from CCP, that they get more plex potentially if you have more characters. But now with alphas and all this skill point injection, that's not really the case. It doesn't really make sense to do it like that. And you are demotivating because you are making it possible for the, let's call them the tolerant people, the people that can manage 250 planets, the people that can multi-box 10 accounts, the people that can do all these things on that parallel scaling. You have to compete with those people, right? They're taking over all the markets, every aspect of that game. That means that the barrier of entry is being raised considerably.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out, last thing before we go on to Billy's stuff, is the money supply, right? If you have a reducing player base, but an increasing money amount, there's something wrong there. Not that necessarily it's bad. And I think what most people were upset with was, hey, this has been going on for years. Suddenly, you think it's a crisis. Don't knee-jerk it. Think about it a while before you actually decide how you're going to deal with this. The only way you get rid of this is increase your sync model versus your input model, right?
Yeah, it's similar to things we know from the real world, right? Demographic problems, like especially in Japan and in most of the Western world, when your population growth either plateaus or even starts declining, you're going to have some problems, because then all your traditional prognosis of GDP and income stream per capita on lifetime, all these numbers go dead. They're not going to work anymore, because if you don't have 3 kids per family, if you only have 1, then that 1 have to actually sustain 2 people instead of 3 people sustaining 2 people. It's a totally different economic situation, and this is what you're seeing in EVE. It plateaued around 2011, and it's been flat up until 14, 15, and then it's just been tanking like crazy lately, right?
Well, we're guesstimating that it's tanking. We don't really know, but we're betting that we're right on with that, right?
Well, we have accounts, but we don't have players. If I'm not mistaken,
Right.
I think we must have lost 50% of the original warm bodies from when we were on top.
The funny thing is, like, what would be the traditional? I wouldn't say traditional, but what would be the a way for, like, real world economies, real world, like, countries to get out of that kind of situation, to make their productivity increase even with a stagnant or declining population, is
the
to
productivity
go the automation.
is going up. But the
go
problem with
automation.
automation is that then you need a really tough redistribution system, because the people that can afford to invest in the things that increase the productivity at that level, that's all financially strong entities. That's big corporations. And if you have a situation where the lowest taxation is with investment and big corporations, and then it's the salaried people that have the largest taxation per income stream, your system is broken. It's upside down. You need to turn it upside down. You need to have income on salary to be extremely low, and then you need to have it higher and higher at the increasing level of financialization. Otherwise, it's not going to balance when you have increasing technological disruption and productivity and a declining population on demographics.
So that's some good conversation on even economics, and I'm sure we'll have more. because maybe in a week or two, Caleb and I can argue on whether we think increase in ISK actually means increase in Plex prices, which I
just want to.
We're not going to go into that now because we got to go to VR or we're going to run out of time. But go ahead, last word, Caleb.
I just want to get to a point where we agree that we want abundance in real life and we want scarcity in Eve, because I would like to fight in Eve, but not in real life. Thank you very much.
There you go. I think we're there. So Billy, you got a birthday present, and it was a PlayStation VR.
Mm.
And you've been lost in VR ever since.
Oh, I've been playing a ton of different games.
So what have you been playing?
Well, mainly I've been playing shooting games, and Mill actually likes to play too. She's pretty good. She's like Annie Oakley with it, honestly.
When are we going to see Annie Oakley again, by the way? Right? Or hear her? That's terrible. Tell her we're upset with her. She's bothered.
Oh, she's right next to me. Let me see if she can say something. Can you say hi?
To
To the stream.
To who? To Eric, God damn it.
Yeah, she can't hear you. I have headphones on.
So you haven't been watching films in a virtual cinema?
No, not yet. I've looked into it a little bit, but yeah, nothing yet. Well, not the one kind. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I was merely talking about the very innocent and normal kind. Oh my god! There's cars outside. Holy crap.
They do have some stuff. Spider-Man I saw and some other random shit on there. That's in like the VR section, but I haven't looked at it.
It's just really funny because like when I saw that as like a VR concept thing, I thought, holy crap, someone has no imagination whatsoever. Like, what can we do with this VR thing? Well, I want to go to cinema, but I can't be asked to go to the cinema. Why not do that? I just thought, wow, that's really, really lame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. There's a lot. I mean, even just the games, it's completely different. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know you did Eve McLeod, but I don't know if anybody else here has used VR at all.
I've not used it at all.
I haven't done the roller coaster one, which like has had people like freaking out and all that, and like I've seen some really funny VR games, like horror VR games that have freaked people out like crazy.
Yeah, there's kind of a combo of one. Rush of Blood. It's like roller coasters and horror all in the fucking same. And I mean, I played like the demo for that, and my stomach actually dropped for the roller coaster part. And it's fucked up, just like shit coming at you all over the place too.
A small segue that's on point. Has any of you guys watched any of those new documentaries about documenting historical buildings and things like that with point cloud data?
I have.
I can't say I have.
Okay, there's a few of them from, I think it's Channel 4. It's that Michael Scott historian. And he's been scanning buildings in Venice and in Rome and a few other cities, and especially things like the underground and all that stuff. And it's actually supposed to be available in VR, if not now already, then soon. And I'm just thinking, this is what I would be doing with the VR, because there's no chance I'm gonna get around to going to Venice and figuring out and remembering all these things that I actually wanted to see. So if you could just log in and use the VR goggles to then go and see these strange things, like the Medici's secret passages through the entire town and things like that.
It's like it's like the next level version of Google, like being a Google Street View kind of.
Oh yeah, exactly. Make point clouds of it all, so you can actually VR Google Map.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Channel 4 for me is ABC. I don't know what you're watching.
It's not ABC. I'll tell you that right now.
Channel 4. It's the competitor to BBC when it comes to documentary stuff. And
there's been films made that have been sponsored or basically produced by 4OD or Film 4. Sorry, not Ferrari, by Film 4. They're the same kind of, basically the same group. Like, it's a, it's a production company, like, that kind of thing.
How many channels do you guys have? I have like 590.
We've got like
nothing is on.
terrestrial.
No, I don't even know what terrestrial TV is. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like traditional before digital kind of TV.
No idea.
That's what I'm talking about. You don't know what before digital TV is?
No, actually I do. As scary as it is, I grew up with 5 TV stations, right?
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about. Like the main stations that were there before all of the other digital channels. Essentially, Channel 4 was one of those.
Just giving you grief.
God damn it, man!
So Billy, you've played a little Eve Valkyrie.
Yeah, honestly, just a little tiny bit. I dipped my big toe in Eve overall, and I dipped my big toe in Valkyrie.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy. Like, it launches you out of a ship, and I mean, that sounds really boring, but just getting launched out that made my stomach drop too. And
really,
you just in space, and there's just so much shit to look at. I feel like you could literally just fly around, not even shoot anything, and just be like, oh fuck yeah.
We do that in Eve all the time, don't we?
It's just a little bit slow, and it's in tie-dyeing with 1,000 people.
Who started this ruse cruise?
I know. Yeah. I forget who my FC was, but I'll bring you back to the Megathron 108 AU warp in 10% tie-dye.
Huh?
I think it took an hour.
Video of that.
I think it took an hour. I think
rhymes with gay amazingness.
Probably.
It's almost as funny as when Boat was pointing out in the big fight that he started a bombing, and then he went out and started folding his laundry, and he came back and it hadn't hit yet.
That is legit what happens.
So yeah, Billy. So in Eve, right? So if there's like 4,000 people in system, no matter how many CPUs they throw at it, it's not going to handle it, right? So they slow time down so that it can process in time all the transactions that get thrown at it for the battle.
I was going to say, whenever I see like screenshots of a battle on Reddit, I'm just like, I have no idea how anything handles any of this at all, how everything doesn't die, everyone's computer.
It's surprising the number of people that it can handle, to be honest with you. I mean, it can handle hundreds without tie-dye. But then at the same time... Go ahead.
Well, it's multiplicative, isn't it? So, 500, have 500 people fighting each other is not the same. Is not half as much as the load for 1,000 people. It's like an exponential graph, right?
It is.
You've got that much more interactions with everyone else.
And you can't throw CPUs at it because that's not the problem. The problem is syncing all those different latencies at once, right? But you can at least say that if there's a specialist in huge fights in game development, it is CCP. No one else does anything remotely like this.
Yeah.
Not even on half the scale.
Well, I think
you talk about
the key factor is they wrote the code single-threaded, right? Not multi-threaded.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't want to deal with the multi-threading syncing. But anybody who's going to argue the fact that you can't sync multi-threaded transactions across multiple servers and still run the game is full of shit, because you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it I think you could do it if it's on a scale below something like 500 at a time. But I think if you go above that, I don't think we have the hardware to really manage that. At least not in a commercial sense that you can go and buy.
They exist.
Maybe things like banking and stuff like that can handle things like that in the high frequency parts.
Banking's commercial.
That's the high frequency. Yeah. But I'm saying that much of that hardware and the setups for that is proprietary, right?
No. You can do it. It's been designed. You can do it. You just have to write your code to actually do it.
You have to write your code. You might
Computationally, this isn't an issue.
No, but price-wise, right? The hardware cost, if you wanted something similar for a game, I'm not sure that that's affordable if you're comparing it to stuff like the financial markets. Those parks are like one of those are the same value as CCP,
Nah.
and then you're not even talking about the
Nah.
the core network, right?
Nah.
Well, you know, Eric works in this kind of area anyway.
Disagree.
Yeah, I know. I've just
function.
seen the price tags on
know.
the banks that I've worked in, and it's crazy numbers.
I'm not. It has nothing to do with the realm that you're in. I mean, code is written in the environment that can handle multiple transactions going through a system across multiple nodes, hundreds, and keep them all in sync. So it's all about writing your code. It's not a hardware thing. Or the expense of the hardware. It's not specialty hardware, so to speak. It's that you've written your code to handle it. Trust me.
But
we need to talk more.
Is it preferable that that particular code is written for, or that particular those particular servers are running something that's not Microsoft?
Yeah, it's not Microsoft, and they're running Microsoft.
Yeah,
we
thought
get
so.
it. Right. By the way,
I just wanted to poke Microsoft there. Sorry, man.
Just go Linux, right? So yeah. So, but Billy, what else did you notice about VR now that you've had it for a while here?
I need to fix my setup a little bit. That's the only thing that's a little janky with it right now. Just I noticed some tracking issues, and I think I just need to calibrate it better. So I mean, it's obvious everything's at a pretty early stage overall, and tracking's better on PC. But I mean, the nice thing about PS4 too is it's just plug and play, and you're good to go. So definitely an advantage of it. But I mean, I really don't even want to play anything else, to be honest. It's just fun, even just playing the same game over and over and over and over and over again.
Even putting that big thing on your head and holding things in your hand, it's not that cumbersome. It's still cool.
I mean, if you keep you can really position the headset how you want, and if you keep it close to your face, I can see it getting a little annoying, but you can adjust it to it. But it's not strenuous at all or anything, except the one game we play, the one shooting gallery game, you can dodge stuff. And I mean, my friends and I were sweating playing because we were trying to dodge so much shit at the same time. But nothing's really too uncomfortable with it at all.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that you got to try for yourself. It's hard to I mean, you can talk about it, but I feel like you don't really know until you see it yourself.
I just don't want to spend the money.
Yeah. I mean, next time I come out for work, I'll just bring the whole thing.
I have no recollection of what you just said.
True. I mean, I won't bring it into work. Let's just say that.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, we can. I think it is an interesting segment of the gaming industry. I'm just not convinced at this point that it is the future.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff they have to work out. I think the biggest problem right now that's really holding it back is a good locomotion method. Because I tried the smooth movement, just move forward and whatever on a joystick. Mm-hmm. And that actually kind of makes me a lot sicker than just the teleport method. Doesn't make me sick at all, but it's really kind of lame, I guess. It's just almost like you're playing a completely different game when you can teleport as to when you actually have to move. But motion sickness is real.
Really? Even so much
even
different.
now.
Yeah. That surprises me. I would think the motion sickness in the Valkyrie spaceship would drive you crazy more than walking.
I don't know. Because you're sitting down for Valkyrie, so I guess you're already kind of expecting it. But I mean, there was a little at first, but it's a lot more jarring to just be walking around than flying, I think.
It's because when it comes to motion sickness and stuff like that, that's triggered in the brain, mm-hmm. in the sense that the brain is expecting to confirm certain things visually from what it's feeling and from what you're feeling, from what you're sensing. So if you're sitting down in something, say if your brain's meant to be thinking logically, oh, I'm sitting down in a cockpit flying a spaceship, Like it'll expect that, and if that's what you kind of see, then it's okay. But if you're walking around and because it's something that your brain has figured out that that your brain has so much experience in doing that it expects a certain something, and when it doesn't get exactly that, that's probably one of the reasons why something like sitting down in a fighter in Valkyrie is less jarring than as Billy's saying, like just walking around, because Billy's brain is expecting a very specific thing, and when it's not experiencing that, then it thinks basically your body reacts in the sense like I'm being poisoned. And that's where you get the motion sickness. That's where you get the nausea.
I just want the VR Segway to drive around in.
Yeah.
Because I would think that your brain would kind of think the same with the two things there. That might be an interesting thing. Hey, just reminding, we got 3 minutes left here, so I'll go around the room for last comments on everything. I'm going to start with you, Billy, but 3 minutes from now, we've got the Meta Show coming up. So if you've come into this show and you're wondering what's next, the Meta Show is a very interesting EVE-related show, and one I certainly enjoy, and I don't like when I miss it. Just like Open Comms and Talking in Stations, when I miss them, the week is not quite the same. So they're great shows. Billy, give us the last word on your thoughts on VR and things that you've been doing.
It's sweet, and just a little tidbit, but I've been drinking Yingling today instead of Miller Lite. I don't know what anyone else is drinking either. How
many cans or bottles? 16?
Only 3 bottles.
Okay.
It's my mom's birthday today, so I can't get too crazy before I go over.
You gotta behave. All right, we'll go up to you, Caleb.
It's too expensive.
VR.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to have a set, but I don't want to pay that for it. It's the same as when new graphics card hardware comes out. I'm always going to wait for Generation 2 or 3.
Yep. How about you, Oxygen? You've been pretty quiet the whole show.
Yeah, I've actually been updating all of my API keys and getting all of my stuff set up to play EVE again. All
right, well, welcome
back.
Which
is a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you.
There are days that I just have to say I can't play EVE, but Rethkaden, 10 cheers. Thank you. Very kind of you.
Hey. Cheers, buddy.
Yay.
So that's cool. I'm glad you're going to be playing EVE again. That'll be great. RW. You're up.
I'm kind of with Caleb on the VR thing. Until those prices come down a little bit more, I'm not going to bother with it.
I think I'm there too. But Billy, I want to play it. So we'll figure something out.
I've seriously considered buying one of those things you put your cell phone in and then strap to your face, doing it cheap.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one thing that can convince me. If CCP makes a Wipeout racing game like Valkyrie, I'm buying one like tomorrow.
Yeah, auto racing would be cool, like NASCAR or Formula One. That would be pretty cool. They've got to have
like space tunnel racing where you're racing in Valkyrie ships. Like fucking crazy.
That sounds awesome.
Like the old Japanese Wipeout
I'd go
games.
Auto racing.
And shooting each other in the face while racing. That's amazing.
Oh, that's like, VR Mario Kart.
Exactly.
Alrighty, well, time's up. 4 o'clock, Meta Show. Thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us this afternoon. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the cheer bits. And thank you, gentlemen here on the panel for having fun with us this weekend. We will see you maybe next week. Maybe we might take a 2-week sabbatical. We'll see. Because we've got a bunch of vacations coming up. Thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.